Hey, algebra, this is going to be page 101 and 102 worked out. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'm happy to help you out on that. So problem number 1, we just have root 27. Remember, we're breaking this down to perfect square, so that's 9 times 3. Square root of 9 is 3. That comes outside. You leave the square root 3 inside. Number 2, remember, root 48 is the goofy one. It's always 16 times 3. Don't do the 4 and 12 because 16 is the biggest perfect square. So the square of 16 is 4. Number 3, root 125. That's going to break down to 25 times 5. So square root of 25 is 5, so I get 5 root 5. Number 4, we have 4 root 36. 36 perfect square. Square root of 36 is 6. It joins the 4 outside. Multiply those together. 5. 3 root 28. 28 breaks down to 4 times 7. Square root of 4 is 2, so you get 3 times 2, root 7, so that's 6 root 7. Number 6, root 400. So root 400, you look at it and you're like, oh, that breaks down to 4 times 100. Those are both perfect squares, aren't they? Square root of 4 is 2, square root of 100 is 10. No more square root sign because we had perfect squares, so 2 times 10 is 20. So I guess 20 times 20 is 400. Number 7, we have x squared minus 9 equals 0. So let's add 9 to both sides. So that's x squared equals 9. Square root both sides. Don't forget plus minus. X equals plus or minus 3 because the square root of 9 is 3. Number 8, we had x squared plus 8 equals 0. Subtract 8 from both sides. So x squared equals negative 8. Square root. Don't forget the plus minus. Wait a minute. What happens when I have a negative under the square root sign? You write no real solution. Number 9, 2x squared plus 10 equals 0. Subtract 10 from both sides. Divide by 2. X squared equals negative 5. Square root. Don't forget the plus minus. So x equals, again, no real solution. Because you have a square root on top of a negative. Number 10 we already did, but I'll just do it again just in case you didn't write it down. So add 24 to both sides. X squared equals 64. Square root. Don't forget plus minus. X equals plus or minus. Square root of 64 is 8. Number 11, we have 2x squared minus 72 equals 0. Let's add 72 to both sides. So 2x squared equals 72. Divide by 2. X squared equals 36. Square root both sides. Don't forget the plus minus on the number side. Plus or minus square root of 36 is 6, so plus or minus 6. Number 12, we have negative x squared plus 25 equals 25. Subtract 25 from both sides. Oh, that's going to be weird. That's x squared equals 0. Multiply both sides by negative 1 to get rid of the negative in front of the x squared. So that's still 0. Square root plus minus. Plus minus 0. Well, there's actually not plus or minus 0. The answer is just 0 here. If you put plus minus, I'm not going to mark you wrong. Okay, page 102. Number 13. Now we have the quantity squared. Okay, let's take the square root of both sides, plus minus. So I get x minus 4 equals plus or minus 0. And I just said on the last problem, you just have 0 there. So add 4. So this one only has one answer. Okay, and that's fine. That's fine. Number 14, we have x squared plus 2, quantity squared equals 9. Let's take the square root of both sides. Don't forget the plus minus. Square root of 9 is 3. Break this into two problems. Notice I have a positive 3 and a negative 3. Subtract 2. X equals 1. There's one answer. Subtract 2. X equals negative 5. There's your second answer. And we did number 15 yesterday, but I'll just work it again real quick. Take the square root of both sides. Don't forget the plus minus on the number side. So I get plus or minus square root of 49 is 7. break this into two problems. Subtract 1. So 3x equals 6. Divide by 3. X equals 2. There's one answer. Minus 1. So 3x equals negative 8. Divide by 3. X equals negative 8/3. Number 16. X squared plus 5 equals 11. Subtract 5. X squared equals 6. Square root of both sides. Don't forget the plus minus. 6 won't break down, so that's your answer. Number 17. We have x squared minus 8 equals 10. Add 8 to both sides. X squared equals 18. Square root plus minus. X squared equals plus or minus square root 18. 18 breaks down to 9 and 2, right? 9 is a big perfect square. Take square root of 9. Oops, we no longer have a squared on those. So x equals plus or minus 3 root 2. Number 18 we did in class, but we'll do it again just to make sure we're good. Add 1 to both sides. Divide by 3. Square root. Don't forget the plus minus. So plus or minus square root 5. And then on number 19, where they made the problem, there should be, the answer should be plus or minus square root 7. So they made a mistake in that one. All right, we're going to go, the next new thing we're learning, and then we're going to work on this. We plan on having a test, we probably do the test on Wednesday next week, okay? And let's go back. All right, so substitution. I know that A equals 1, B equals 7, C equals 12. So let's plug it into this equation. So I get, there's a negative in front, so I'm going to have a negative, bring the 7 down, that's what the B was, plus or minus the square root, B squared, that's 7 squared, minus 4 times A times C, all divided by 2 times A. Now let's just clean it up. Well, negative 7 stays as is. 7 squared is 49. Minus 48, because 4 times 1 times 12. So that's going to give me square root 1 over 2. The square root of 1 is 1. So this is going to be negative 7 plus 1 is negative 6 over 2. So that's negative 3. Negative 7 minus 1 is negative 8 over 2. So that's negative 4. You would do the same thing with this one. Our A we know is 2, our B is 9, our C is 4. So I have a negative out front, negative 9 plus or minus the square root of 9 squared minus 4AC all over 2A, 2 times 2. And let's work it out. Negative 9 plus or minus square root, 9 squared is 81. Negative 4 times 4 is negative 8, negative 8, so that's going to give me negative 32, excuse me, over 4. 81 minus 32, I got to do that, man. I can't do that in my head. Not on a Friday morning. Oh, that's 49. Okay, so negative 9 plus or minus square root 49 over 4. Square root of 49 is going to give us 7. Okay, negative 9 plus 7 is negative 2. Negative 2 over 4. That's going to reduce to negative 1/2. There's one answer. Negative 9 minus 7 is negative 16 over 4. That's going to give me an answer of negative 4. So that's page 103, right? Page 103 is where we're at. Okay, so we're going to be solving using the quadratic formula. So when we do this, it won't factor. So there's got to be another way. Some of you might say, well, let's add 2 to both sides. Well, we technically might be able to get away with something like that, but that's called something called completing the square. So let's think about a few things. This A, B, and C. If I go back here, my A value is 1, my B value is -4, my C value is -2. Okay, and I know this you don't have this one on your paper, but that's okay. You can just talk about it. So you're going to go along with this. Now, there's a quadratic formula song. It's fine. We will always write this down for you, so you'll be okay. All right, so let's try and do this one. So I have a 1 out front, so A equals 1. I have a -4 in front of the x. It's going to be -4. I have a -2 that doesn't have a number attached to it. The A value always goes along with the x squared term. The B value always goes along with the x term, and the C value is always just the number. So we're going to use our equation x equals -b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. So I have a negative out front, and I'm going to plug a -4 in. So I get -4. That's going to turn positive in a moment. Then I'm going to go -4 squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. All right, start cleaning it up. This is x is equal to this as we go through. So negative is positive, plus or minus square root. -4 squared. -4 times -4 is 16. -4 times 1 is -4. -4 times -2 is +8. All over 2. You don't need that positive in front of the 4 any longer, so we're not going to write it. 16 and 8 is 24 over 2. 24 breaks down to 4 times 6. Square root of 4 is 2, so I get 2 square root 6. So x equals 4 plus or minus 2 root 6 over 2. Everything outside the radical will reduce by 2. So x equals 2 plus or minus square root 6. That's my answer. Don't make it a decimal. Leave it just as that. Okay. So if I factor this is going to factor to x plus 2, x plus 3. If I set each of those equal to 0, subtract 2, subtract 3. There's our answers, -2 and -3. Let's see if we can do the quadratic with this, though. So my a value is 1, my b value is 5, my c value is 6. So x equals, remember our quadratic formula is this. So x is negative, our b value is 5, plus or minus the square root, our b value squared, minus 4 times our a value times our c value, all divided by 2 times our a value. Let's do the arithmetic. -5 is going to stay as is. 5 squared is 25. -4 times 1 is -4. -4 times 6 is -24. All over 2, because 2 times 1. X equals -5 plus or minus 25 minus 24 is 1. So I get square root 1. The square root of 1 is 1. All right, -5 plus 1 is -4 over 2. Reduce that, gives me -2. -5 minus 1 is -6 over 2, which is -3. So take a look. I got -2 and -3. -2 and -3. So it works nicely. Okay, this one's a little tougher to factor. Let's actually not even factor it. Oops, I'm not going to use that. So I'm going to subtract the 20 to make it look like this. Okay, it's now equal to 0, so I just move this over. Okay, now I'm not even going to try and factor this. I know my a value is 2, my b value is -6, my c value is -20. So my quadratic formula is x equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. Okay, so I'm going to get x equals negative, because there's negative out front, and a negative 6. So that'll become positive eventually. And I get negative 6 squared minus 4a, which is 2, c, which is negative 20, all divided by 2 times 2. So x equals negative negative 6. That's 6 plus or minus negative 6 squared is 36. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. Negative 8 times that is positive 160 over 4. If I add those together, I get 196. Hey, on your calculator, tell me what the square root of 196 is. Did you get 14? Cool. All right, negative 6 plus 4 is 20. 20 over 4, that's going to reduce to 5. Negative 6 minus 14 is negative 8 over 4. That comes out to negative 2. All right, we're not even going to worry about factoring it. I know the quadratic formula is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root, b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. Okay, so my a value is 1, my b value is 4, my c value is negative 6. So I'm going to get x equals negative b, so it's going to be a negative 4 now because I'm plugging a positive 4 in. B squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 6, that's my a and c value, all divided by 2 times 1. 4 squared is 16. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 times 6 is positive 24. So x equals negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 40 over 2. Square root 40 is going to break down to 4 times 10, which is going to be 2 root 5, because square root of 4. So I'm going to replace square root 40 with 2 root 5. Everything outside reduces by 2. So x equals negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 5. There's my answer. Okay, so my friends, we are going to do page 105 and page 106. And I think you can do 1 through 3. Do all of those. And then why don't we say we do, you know what, let's just do this. Page 105, 1 through 9 all. Okay, try and get it done before you leave class. I can help you with it. Okay, ask me about it. You're on 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 4 through 9. We're doing the quadratic formulas. See if you can play around with it. Okay, there's not a lot here, but I just want to have you some practice. Try and get this done during class, and we will, I can help you if needed. Go over whatever you need. Have a nice day.